Hi there guys, welcome to another EDH Geeks video. And in this video today, going to be discussing a interesting or somewhat interesting topic. Again, as I always try to do, is that the idea of winning versus fun, essentially. Like, I always sort of, when I'm playing Commander and whatnot, am trying to have fun in playing Commander, and I know a lot of people are trying to have fun in playing their deck. But I find that a lot of the time, the problem comes up that winning the game becomes the thing that people find fun more than actually just playing the game or whatever or whatnot. So I do think that sometimes winning and just straight winning is just like the only thing some people care about, and that sort of gets in the way of just the game being fun for everyone and the game being flowing well, sort of, and it just sort of becomes like either one person becomes the big threat at the table, and then just no one can really do anything because they just have removal all the time, and I just find that that's not very fun. And people who have this kind of mindset, or I've got to be winning to be having fun, I just don't get really. And I've seen a few YouTube content creators and whatnot saying, oh, the same sort of mindset, like the command zone, even, like, how do I win more games of Commander? Because if I'm not winning, of course I'm not having fun. Like, if I'm not ahead and winning and killing everyone's stuff and just going off, I'm not having fun, of course. That sort of is how it sort of feels to me when they're saying some of this stuff, like some of these content creators. I won't say that about the command zone specifically, but again, like, when they say things like this, and when some of these things are said, some of them go toward how that sort of sounds to me, and like a lot of people seem to play that way as well. And a lot of people, when they're sort of, coming into like seeing people playing a game, the first question is, who's winning? Like, and again, I often find that that's people who either have that mindset coming from standard or pioneer or modern or whatever, like, where it's obviously clear who's sort of winning or who's going to win, and that's their one mindset. But Commander's completely different, in my opinion, at least. If you're playing competitive Commander, even, like, I still think that the whole idea of Commander is to play the game for fun and to see sort of what decks are doing, and who can win in the end, because it's not like, but again, even like when you say who wins in the end is not the most important thing. Like, again, to me, the fun of playing the game, interacting with other people, and trying to win, like, you're always trying to win, but again, like, that doesn't take away from like going, oh well, you know what, I'll have a deal with you for a turn, or we'll do something together for this specific creature, or this specific enchantment, or this specific artifact, or what have you, or this planeswalker, or whatever it is, that's going to probably kill both of us, or probably going to win the game for this person. So right now we'll work together, or, like, I can learn the lore about some of your deck, or some of your creatures, or some of your planeswalkers, or whatever, if you've got a Liliana deck or whatever it is, or a Tibalt deck. I don't know what you're doing with the Tibalt deck, but whatever. That's what your deck is trying to do. You're a mono red deck and you've decided to go Tibalt Tribal for some reason. Okay, I don't know, but again, that's probably not the most competitive sort of deck. But again, if that's what your deck's doing, then that's cool, and maybe we'll have that conversation down the road. Oh, this is Tibalt from, whatever it is, like Liliana, or this is Ashiok, or this is the Elspeth deck, or this is a, this deck, or it's a Chair Tribal deck, like, again, I won't expect to see that sort of deck that much, and those are very janky sort of decks sometimes. But again, whatever your deck is, if your deck is an infect deck, well, now I'm not very happy, but again, like, we'll learn a little bit more about infect and whatnot, or like it's a whole history of new Phyrexia or whatever it is. It's telling the story, or it's, it's all about the synergy of proliferate and like whatnot, and it's all about us trying to find an answer and whatnot, rather than it's straight up, just kills us all out or whatever. It's a very slow process where you've got to find answers and whatnot, or you've got to try and take out that one player or whatever, or you've got to try and take out their things that actually, proliferate so that they can win in the way that their deck's designed to win, or whatever it is. Like, that's the fun of the game to me, is trying to communicate with other people and trying to make deals and make things happen, or trying to explain the lore or explain the story, or tell a little story within the game of, like, same with like my squirrel deck. It's one of the most fun decks that I have. Again, like, I love that deck the absolute most out of every deck that I have, but all the decks that I have are good decks and I enjoy them greatly because they're build arounds. They're something that I've gone, okay, I want something that is completely different. I want Expel Tribal. That sounds cool to me. There's not a lot of Expels, but a lot of them are pretty good, like, and even some of the bad ones. Okay, well, it comes with another XX creature because I've got that Expel Commander, so I get another XX, so then it's just that little bit better. Or I have other things that are in there that give me more value or more things from it, so that then you feel like, well, now I've got more bang for my buck, and it has been a success for me to do what I'm doing. In my, other decks, I'm always trying to build around something. And again, as I say, the expectation for my squirrel deck to me is a lot lower. And again, it's a much more casual and just fun deck where I'm trying to tell that narrative of I'm trying to steal your life total nuts, like my squirrels are trying to stockpile, for the winter and whatnot and all of this. That's the whole idea, like, it's just funny and silly, and it's just trying to engage people in the game that we're playing, like, whatever it is that I'm trying to do with my deck is trying to win at the end of the day, but it is not all about winning. If I don't win, then again, I'm not disappointed. I am at least doing what I want to be doing, or I'm making the game play the way that I want to play it. I'm playing my deck the way I want to play my deck. So that's allowing me, the player, and again, I know that some people want to play their deck to win, and all they care about is winning. But to me, if you're playing in what I will call even more casually competitive metas, the idea isn't, again, to storm off on turn 1 or 2 in those decks, or combo off on turn 1, 2, or 3, or what have you in those metas. Yes, they're more focused on winning, and you might see some more powerful commanders and somewhat more powerful strategies and somewhat more sort of mean sort of tactics, I would say, I guess, or more tactics that lock some people out, which I don't like and I don't agree with, again, but still I recognize that they exist and some people like playing them. But again, if you're going to play them against people that perhaps aren't going to like those sorts of things, then again, I still think that that's saying, I want to sit here and play solitaire, basically. And that's what I think about these sorts of ideas. It comes down to, it seems like the rest of the players are really not involved in this game. What you're doing is essentially a control deck, or is a combo deck where you just want to sit in the corner and play with yourself. You just want to torture other people until you can sit there and play with yourself with your little combo or whatnot. And that's what I don't like. I want people to feel like they have the ability to do what they want to do. Perhaps they have to jump through a few hoops to do so, or perhaps they've got to figure out a way to deal with what I'm doing sometimes, to do what they're doing, but I don't want them to feel like, oh, well, I just can't do anything unless I deal with what you're actually doing. If I don't deal with what you're doing, maybe I'll lose. But maybe I won't, because maybe you'll target somebody else with what you're doing. So then I might live, and therefore I might be able to win this game, because maybe the other one or two players or whatever are at such a low enough life total that it doesn't matter, and therefore I can still win the game, and I'm still in this game, and I can still play the game, and I'm not adversely affected. I'm not locked out of playing. I'm not incapable of playing my cards. I'm not incapable of answering this situation. That is more fun for me and for the other players. I want to see that the other players feel like they still have a chance to win. They still have a chance to do something. They still have relevance in the game, until the point at which, hey, look, here's me saying I'm going to try to win the game. Right here, right now, I have Craterhoof Behemoth. I am casting Craterhoof Behemoth. I have enough power on the board to literally kill everyone right here, right now. Okay? So does anyone have an answer to that? If no one has an answer, then please, let's just say that that's it. Because it's game. To me, sometimes the game has gone long enough and people are bored and sick and tired of it, and they just want somebody to say, hey, look, I win. You know, and sometimes I'm very much like that. The game has got to end, but that's what I want to see from people. I want them to say, hey, look, this is my thing, it's going to win. That's what I find the most annoying with some decks, is that it just feels like an elongated grind fest, and they just have no real way to actually, here's my win condition, I'm going to win, or I've got enough combat damage, or whatever it is, or I've got this, or I've got that, or I can mill, or whatever, I can win. Okay, cool, you can win, cool, that's game then. If no one else can do anything about it, no one can do anything about it, okay, we're going to shuffle up. Some people are going to go get lunch, or they're going to get their dinner, or they're going to go do something else for 5 minutes. They've got to get the dog in, they've got to put the cat out, whatever it is. You know, all of this sort of thing. I've got to get the washing in, or I've got to pick my kid up from school, or I've got to go to work, or whatever it is. There's always something else in life, and eventually the games do have to end, and that's not what I'm complaining about. Again, I'm just saying that when people sort of shut down people and decks from doing what they're doing, and just sort of make the game very grindy and boring and slow and dull. People just don't want to play, and people are sitting there on their phones just waiting for the game to end. And eventually people are just like, well, I can't be bothered with this game anymore, I'm going to scoop. So I understand that there are players that like that and that enjoy that and whatnot, but again, I think you've got to find the right time, and you've got to explain to people, hey, look, this is a very slow, grindy deck, and it takes a long time for it to actually say, hey, I'm going to win. If you're going to play that deck, you've got to explain that that's what that deck's doing. Or if you're playing a straight, like, I win turn 2, turn 3, or even turn 0 deck, basically, you've got to say that. Look, I'm playing a CDH deck, I want a CDH game. If you're coming to a table I would say that instead of saying what power levels you deck or whatnot, things like that, really just loses context. Are we playing, just casual, just slightly a little bit more competitively casual, or are we playing full on, let's just kill each other or win turn 2, turn 3, or whatever it is? We're just trying to win. That's the straight goal of the game. If you're looking for that kind of game, you need to know what you're looking for. Again, know what players want, and if players don't want to play that game, again, you shouldn't say, oh, well, that's the only deck. You shouldn't just say, well, that's the only way I want to play, so if you're not playing that way, then, I'm not interested in playing a game. That's fair enough. Like if you just say, oh, well, I'm only here for CEDH games, or I'm only here for casual games, or whatever it is, then that's fine. Don't ever be like, well, you should just be playing, this way or that way. No one is right or wrong for playing the way they want to play, as long as everyone in that pod is agreeing to play that way, or is wanting to play that sort of game. Because again, people don't want to always play that way, and it's not always the easiest thing to do or to deal with, having to play those sorts of decks and whatnot. So just remind people that, hey, this is slightly, slower deck, and it doesn't win, and it's very grindy, and it's a resource management deck where I'm going to kill everything that you've got basically every turn. So just be prepared for that. Again, once again, like bringing it back to saying winning versus fun, you can still have those games, but again, you need to know that people want to play that and will have fun in playing that. Don't just sit down and say, okay, I'm just going to play this, and if everyone else is miserable, then I don't care, I'm just doing what I'm doing. But again, if you're playing a deck that is like, well, this is what the deck does, then don't be apologetic or whatever. Just try and do what you're doing to win. Like if everyone's on the same page, then it's like, well, this is what my deck is doing to win. Don't be like, if somebody says, hey, why are you doing that? Well, this is what the deck does. This is a sacrifice deck, or this is a deck that revolves around making you sacrifice your things or whatnot. You knew this coming into it when I said, hey, look, I'm playing this slow, grindy deck where I make you sack all your stuff. Okay, alright, whatever. And then people are like, hey, why are you killing all my stuff? It's like, well, I suspect it. Again, some people need to be reminded, this is what's going to happen. And again, sometimes that is a bad thing, and some people's communication skills need to be worked on when you're playing against other people and saying, hey, this person over there is getting way out of hand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play this thing that says they have to sacrifice a creature, but it will affect you guys as well. So perhaps don't play any creatures right now, because otherwise you're just going to get wrapped up in that, and you're just going to be even further behind than what you are. But maybe that's a discussion for another video as well. But anyway, guys, I hope you have enjoyed this little discussion that I've been having, and just reconsider that your whole perspective a little bit on playing games and whatnot with other people, because again, you're wasting people's time that they don't have much time to give. People want to play fun, enjoyable games and have fun interactions with their friends or with new people that they perhaps don't know. And again, especially with newer players, it's one of those things where I think if you're playing that way, that you need to say, hey, look, okay, these are newer players, they're just playing pre-cons. I'm just going to pull out one of my more janky sort of fun decks or whatever. This is a more casual crowd. I'm just going to bring out one of my more casual fun decks. Just be prepared to play with whatever anyone's playing to a degree. And that's why, again, sometimes I suggest to people to build different power levels, and I've been suggesting to myself to build different power level decks, because not everyone wants to play, bottom or sort of more bottomish casual decks, and not everyone wants to play, you know, higher level competitive decks either. So I have a couple decks that are in both areas. I don't really have a full on CDH deck. I was going to build one, but again I didn't because I just found it's too difficult for me to play, and I just don't like that sort of play. But anyway, again, as I say, hope you have enjoyed, and hope if you have enjoyed that you will help us out. Like, share, comment, and subscribe, and get onto the Patreon. Give us a bit of a tip there. Help us out. Be so good of you to do. Just be on the bottom tier if you want to be, and don't worry about being on the upper tiers right yet. If you want to be on there later on, you can be. But anyway, they will be changed at some point. I'll be lowering the prices on the tiers, the higher tiers, and the mid tier later on. So, yep, it'll be a bit cheaper for people to get onto. But thanks so much for watching.